Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1980s.
I wonder if we'll find anything down here.
I bet we're going to find a big blue monkey.
This is episode 277, recorded January 22nd, 2025.
Gruesome Magazine.
Oh, hey, spoiler alert, you will not, in fact, find a big blue monkey or any kind of blue monkey in this movie.
I want my money back.
Wait a minute. They don't know what movie we're doing yet.
Huh, what could it be?
Because they couldn't possibly read the title of the film. I am your host, Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1980 and 1989. Each episode, my co-host Bill Mulligan, Koseluk, Cleveland, and Chad Hunt, and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this radical, gory, influential, and gruesome decade. Joining me tonight is not Crystal Cleveland. She is off doing family requisites, and but she will be back next episode. So, miss you, Crystal.
But we have somebody just as pretty.
Yeah.
Oh man, did you get a
Nah,
wrong
it's
number,
just
Chad?
Ralph.
His hair is the same color too.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
Only if.
Now, since we embarrassed him.
Joining us is Ralph Miller III, who is a former, current special effects artist, has worked on many movies. We've done lots of episodes on his movies and even on his career. And he was nice enough to join us. I actually gave him a few days' notice this time.
Wow.
Yes, I appreciate
Nice,
that, Jeff.
How you doing, Ralph?
I'm doing great. How about you, Jeff?
I'm excellent.
Yay.
I am so good. Also with us is Chad Hunt, co-host of Decades of Horror, all of them, and a comic book artist and writer, and all-around jack of all trades. How you doing, Chad?
What the hell you care?
You're right. You're right. Moving on. Last but not least is Bill Mulligan.
I thought
I
you
thought he
forgot
forgot
about
your
something.
name.
Yeah, wow.
For some reason, my
Apparently
last
I
but
am
not
least.
Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, co-host of Decades of Horror of the 1970s, and got a little throat tickle today, so maybe
I
coughing. How you
do.
doing, Bill?
I'm actually not doing great. I was this morning. I was going to call up and say I can't do it, but I realized you wouldn't be able to understand me. I totally lost my voice this morning, but yelling at the cats has brought it back, so I'm okay now. I may be muting my button every now and again. I got a little bit of a head cold going on, but
It's going around.
yeah, or maybe it's just from watching this movie. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the rest of us are sitting in sort of normal abodes while Ralph is broadcasting from his
Crypt,
personal dungeon.
his man dungeon.
Yeah, it's man dungeon. Yes, everyone should have a man dungeon. All right. So, Decades of Horror is partnering with Play Now Media, and they have, I don't know, 25 or 30 streaming channels, and we are featured on some of them. In particular, Decades of Horror of the 1980s is on the Wicked Horror TV channel, and those are streaming apps. You can watch them for nothing, get ads, and you'll miss out on some premium content, or you subscribe for a monthly fee of $6.99 a piece, or you can subscribe for an annual fee of $49.99. And when you subscribe, then you ain't got no commercials and you get all the premium content.
Yeah.
Plus, if you even if you don't pay, if you sign up with an email address and stuff, then it will remember what movies you watched and where you're at in the movie across different devices and stuff like that. And you can save a favorites list. But we also Play Now Media has given us a promo code for Grue believers, DOH80, DOH all caps 80, and you plug that in when you sign up. It's only good for first-time subscribers, and you have to sign up on their webpage, not through Amazon, not through Apple or any of the other services. Go to their webpage, sign up. And what you'll get is 20% off your first payment. So if you sign up for the monthly plan, you will get $1.40 off the first month. But if you sign up for the annual plan, you will get $10 off. And it will cost you, I don't know, $39.99.1, I think. I don't know. Anyway, but so that's a good deal. So take advantage of it. It's also good on the Classic Sci-Fi Movie Channel and the Classic Horror Movie Channel. All righty. Moving on. They got a lot of nice stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like
Our-
a top song.
Our pattern here is well, that's what I'm going for, but I don't have the guitar. Anyway, don't interrupt me today because my mind is scattered.
Sorry, what?
Oh, interrupting, that never happens here.
No,
I'm on cough syrup. What are you talking about?
Once I get on track, I think I'll be okay. So what we do here is, well, we start off with a few details about the film. We give first impressions. Chad does taglines in his unique way, and
With
then
enthusiasm.
we take off down the road, looking at everything we can think of about the movie: effects, posters, acting, crew, etc. So, and
Craft service.
usually pertaining
Craft
to the
service.
movie.
Honey
What's that?
wagon driver.
Yeah. The janitor's bowel movements is what they're always.
Monkey Wrangler.
So here's the movie we're doing is Blue Monkey, and
Oh, there's the little guy himself.
I got to tell you that kid was my favorite character. Blue Monkey, released in 1987, directed by William. Is it Fruet or Fruit? Fruet. Written by George Goldsmith, and story editor was Chris Koseluk. The cast includes Steve Railsback, Gwyneth Walsh, Don Lake, Helen Hughes, Sandy Webster, and Susan Anspach. Steve Neal was the creator and maker, supervisor of the effects of the creature work for serious effects. The production company was Mithras. Filming locations: Humber College in Toronto, Canada. Filming dates: February 9th to March 13th, 1987, and it was released September 25th, 1987. And the budget was $3 million Canadian, which translates at that time to about 2.3 million US dollars. And the synopsis: a detective and a doctor must find a way to stop a giant monstrous insect before it isn't. Giant and monstrous are probably done.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, a giant monstrous insect before it procreates and spreads a deadly infection it's carrying. Meanwhile, it's eating people in the quarantined hospital.
Well, that's just a bonus.
Yeah.
And this little tyke is part of the I don't know, the cancer ward kids. But he is a gem and kind of the savior.
Yeah. See, wasn't it great to be that age and so cute that you had no accountability? You could do something that results in dozens of people dying horribly, and all you get at the end is the cops tousle your head a little bit and send you on your way.
Oh, they never knew. But then he did help wheelchair the old people out, right?
Okay.
He marshaled the kids.
He helped save the people he himself put in danger. Fine.
Exactly. And
They should have named the movie, "Hey, it's all my fault."
Yep.
And I think his name was Joey. So
Joey.
I'm going to cut that out. I think
He doesn't look Jewish.
He doesn't look Joey-ish. His name is Joey, and he is played by Stuart Stone. Okay, one of the 4 kids that were in this film. Now, it's time for first impressions. And this was Chad's pick.
Way to go, Chad.
So he's going to go first.
Hey.
Had you seen this before, Chad? And if not, why did you pick this?
This is the first time I've seen this. Now, I read about it in Fangoria. I remember reading it, like, how they used to have the little sidebar articles?
Yeah.
I think it was in one of those sidebar articles talking about Blue Monkey. Didn't say exactly what it was about, but it had Steve Railsback and this. And I completely forgot about it after that. And I think I saw it on the shelf in Blockbuster or one of the mom and pop rental stores, and still never picked it up to watch it because I didn't know what Blue Monkey was or anything like that. So this is the first time I've watched it, and I really dug it. It was like a straight up 80s monster fest thing. Even though I hate Steve Railsback because he scared the crap out of me when he played Helter Skelter as a kid. He scared the crap out of me, and I never liked him again after that. But I liked him in this. He was good in this. Just it felt to me like a Hollywood script that nobody wanted. So they decided to go with a lower budget on it. It had the cute kids running around, helping everybody, like almost like a Spielberg film. It had the cool monster in it. I wish we could have saw more, but I thought they did a great job with how they filmed the creature running down the hall and that kind of thing. They didn't show the whole body, but they showed somebody with a hand puppet or something running down the hall while they just filmed the head. It looked like it, and I thought that was amazingly cool. But yeah, I liked it. It had some good grisly, yucky, slimy moments with the worm and the people trapped in the little sacks and stuff like that. So yeah, I dug it. It just took me back to the 80s or whatever, and yeah, I really liked it. Really liked it.
All righty, Mr. Bill Mulligan.
Okay, so I'm a little confused actually because my memory's a little messed up. I somehow came into possession of a bunch of Blue Monkey posters. And I thought that they had been at college. Sometimes they would just dump off posters.
That day of rain, Blue Monkey posters out of the sky.
1987 would be too late for this. Trying to get my dates right. I don't think I was even in grad school at that point. So I don't know how, but I had a whole bunch of Blue Monkey posters. And it's the poster we'll see. It's a close-up of someone's face. It's a painting. Stuff seems to be coming out of his ears.
Actually, it was Les Nessman dropping him from a
it's striking, but whatever. It never played anywhere near me. And then I caught it on cable, or somehow I managed to finally see it and discovered there was no Blue Monkey at all. And I would say, having watched it again now, because it's like, okay, now that I know there's no Blue Monkey, let me give it a fair evaluation. I'm not a huge fan. This is a low-budget Canadian horror movie. Canadian movies are their own thing. Sometimes you get something really kind of cool, like Pin. Sometimes you get something really terrible but entertaining, like Rock and Roll Nightmare. And sometimes you get stuff like this, and this is sort of in the middle. It doesn't really work for me. It's very Canadian. It's clean. It's brightly lit. It has sharp photography. It doesn't have the aesthetic of American horror films. Now, I'm not saying everything has to be American horror films, but Canadian horror films just aren't scary. They're not filmed to be scary. It almost seems like it's not their nature. And yes, I do realize Canada is literally touching the United States. You know, there should be no great culture clash between us. But
51st state, I hear.
The 51st state, something.
No.
But I don't know. There's just something about Canadian horror movies, and this is one of them. It's just too clean. This is about a giant bug running through there, but everything is just so well lit, except the monster, which needed to be better lit. Because I will say, I'm impressed with the monster. Everything else looks kind of cheap. Steve Railsback looks like he's being held at gunpoint. Like there is a gun just off camera aimed at his head, and he can't leave. That's the enthusiasm level he gets. Everyone else seems to be having a good time. Lots of familiar faces, Canadian faces. The monster's pretty good. It's going back to the old school them. What's the best way to make a giant monster look convincing? Make a giant puppet. Yeah, that does work because it looks like it could actually hurt you. If one of those arms fell on you, they might be, just resin, but I think that hurt. So the monster's pretty cool. He's not blue. He's not a monkey. He's basically the giant mantis, but that's all right. The premise is a little dopey. You know, the army's outside threatening to kill everybody. If they would come in, we could end this movie real fast because they could shoot the monster, but no, they're going to shoot the patients. Okay. I guess that's safer.
But they have a disease.
Yeah, a disease. So, I mean, it had potential. That the idea of the whole hospital being quarantined, excuse me, that's kind of cool. Kind of gets that wreck mode going there and everything. There's some stuff they could have done there. Some of the actors seem to be under the impression they're kind of making a spoof, and some of them are playing it fairly straight. And Steve Railsback is reading a hostage note. So you've got it's tonally a little odd and everything. I'm actually enjoying it more the more I think about it. Actually, Chad's enthusiasm for it is infectious. It's an odd little monster movie. It's not as gory as it ought to be, but it's gory enough that you might not want to have the kids watch it. It's fun. It was a fun enough thing. I enjoyed myself watching it.
Okay. I appreciate it, but you got to figure out where those posters came from. Did you go to a convention or something and have leftovers?
You know, that makes sense because actually, when I was in Albany for grad school, we had Fantico. And
that's close to Canada too.
It is
somewhat.
It is
right across.
All I know is I ended up with a bucket load of Blue Monkey posters and the Howling posters.
Okay, I gotta see. Great T-shirt. What's that from, Ralph?
I larva you.
Or is it an original? I larva you.
Wow.
I don't know. It's like when some people write a poem, they use assonance, which means that the words that are supposed to rhyme don't really rhyme. I larva you seems to me like a pun that isn't really a pun because it's like, wait, is that supposed to be I love you? Because it's like, am I missing it? It's
well, it looks like a take on a Grateful Dead.
It's
a little bit too.
First time I've ever heard larva used as a verb. I'll give it that.
Yeah, right.
Larva you.
Well, right now,
I don't want to know what the act of larvaing is.
There's someone screaming because it's like it's obviously a take on, and they're going to describe. You're going to send us a letter exactly what that's. So, how did you guys miss it?
Ralph, had you seen this before? And if not, what are your first impressions?
First time I saw it was just a few days ago, and then I watched it again last night. So I wanted to be really well versed in this complex and slightly tone deaf movie. It's a fun movie. Well, I had fun with it anyway. I enjoyed the creature effects. I recognize that it does draw parallels to some movies like Alien and Aliens, and even them, I suppose. As Bill said, it does seem like these characters are in different movies, but that's not just the acting; it's in the script. Some of it is clearly intended to be funny, and that's something that was not uncommon in the 80s, that you'd have a mix of comedy with the horror. But I think some people have done it a little more deftly than the writer and director and actors in this film. I mean, I can't really blame the actors. I mean, they're doing what the script is telling them to do.
Mm-hmm.
The director and the editor could have always, pulled back a little bit when things were getting a little goofy, but they didn't. So, films are about evoking an emotional response in the audience. And, there'll be scenes that are funny. There'll be scenes that are scary. There'll be scenes with tension where you don't know what's going to happen next or where this thing's going to pop out from. But some people, some filmmakers have a different balance about things. Here, it's the humor pops in occasionally, and the other parts are supposed to be taken so seriously that it does kind of seem like it's a jumble of different films and different ideas. But hey, it's still got monster. It's got some some gory, nasty, messy stuff. It had, the music in some respects was so spot on that it was kind of funny in parts, but it also, it did help elevate the tension in those scenes where you're really worried about what's going to happen next. The science makes no sense to me, but that's not the first time that's happened in a science fiction monster movie. So it's definitely, you look at it, you experience it. It's definitely of the 80s, but as Bill was saying, it's a bit different than a USA production would have been. All in all, I had known about this. It was on my radar ever since, I guess, Fangoria mentioned it. And I was, I was always thinking, should I see this? Will this be fun? Will I like it? And it took the encouragement of the decades of horror to get me to finally check it out. And, I'm glad I did. I don't think it's anybody's idea of the best horror movie or sci-fi movie, but it still was a good time for me.
Yeah. Ralph, I'm just curious. You ever strap yourself in those manacles when you're just hanging around? Sorry.
Well, sometimes,
or maybe your wife does. I don't know.
Yeah, I like to strap myself in the manacles where I'm hanging upside down. It's really good to stretch out your back.
Oh yeah. Probably safer than hanging your boots on a door too.
You don't hear any complaints from the guy behind him.
No.
As long as they don't forget about you. They kind of forgot about that guy, the skeleton guy there.
And that's why Jeff has a court order to stay 20 feet away from all humans.
Does you see anybody else?
No.
You know what? I kind of liked it too. I mean, it's a little rough, and I'm sort of like Bill. I felt like Susan Anspach and the guy that plays Elliot, like they were in a comedy, and the other doctor and Stephen Railsback were in a horror movie, and then the little kids were just sort of, I don't know, side relief or something. Oh, also Marwella and Dee Dee were in a comedy.
There we go.
Yeah, the Golden Girls.
I kind of like the effects. The editing I think is pretty good in showing it, but I'd be watching it and be going, wow, that's pretty good. And then something would happen and I'd go, that didn't really work. And then the next thing would be really good. And then, that didn't really work. But still the just looking at the creation of the insect was cool. And hey, you got to have slime in a horror movie, and we'll show you some slime here in a little bit. So overall, I think I enjoyed it. I'm not a big Steve Railsback fan either. I actually thought that the two elderly women and the little kid Joey were the funnest parts of the movie in terms of the acting and stuff. Although Dee Dee was a little over the top, but what the heck, she was going for it.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, that's first impressions. But now there's this little thing we do.
Oh, yeah.
Called taglines with Chad. I was going to, here I am all messed up again.
I thought we were sending Ralph a link to do the tagline stuff.
I don't know. That looks like you in the picture.
I'm sure we can make Ralph up to look like that.
And now, I don't know why, but it's my brain is working at like I can't do more than one thing at a time.
Well, I know why mine is codeine.
And now it's time for Taglines with Chad, played by Chad his own self.
That's my new last name. I'm having it legally changed. Chad his own self.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
Okay. Taglines for the Blue Monkey are: they breed, they hatch, they kill. Maybe it's just a phase they're going through.
So they breed before they hatch. Interesting.
Yeah. There's a bad bug going round, and Bill has it.
Yeah.
Oh, Bill.
Mm.
They arise out of nothing. They think. They kill.
They think? Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's thinking.
It will tear your soul apart, or it will tear you apart.
They just reached into the box of taglines and yanked that one out.
Yeah. What's on the Hellraiser poster?
Hmm.
Did you hear about them 700 babies that was born at County Hospital last night? Not one of them was human.
I just want to say whoever wrote that has never actually been to a hospital. 700 babies in one night?
They were insects.
None of
Anyway,
them human.
Oh, that's true. Oh, I see. Only one of them. So that makes sense. Not one. Oh, I
not
misread it.
one
No,
of them was human.
I take it back, tagline writer. That actually was clever.
That's just the cockroaches.
And that's been Taglines with Chad.
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
Well, judging from the response I was getting from those taglines,
All right. So let's take a look. We have some posters here. Bill has been kind enough to
for a
put
movie
together.
that barely got a release.
So
that's
that's a
the
lot
one-
of posters. It's
that's
one
the
of those
one I
ones
got.
that's
It's a cool poster. It tells you nothing about the movie, and what it does tell you isn't in the movie. But okay, it's still a cool poster. Intriguing. What's that all about? I don't know. Maybe I'll go see it.
So is his head supposed to be exploding or something?
It is the worst case of earwax you've ever seen.
is it coming out of his ears? It looks like
I
it's
don't
coming out on
know.
the top side of his head or something.
It's
Yeah, looks like he's got a hairdo with some seaweed hanging off it or something.
See, you don't understand. That's the mystique of this, and that you're
Oh.
like, I wonder why this is happening. I guess I have to go. Here's my money. Give me a ticket. Let me go find out.
I want to see that blue monkey.
Yeah.
I don't see it on that poster. So
And
Two
then when-
adults for the blue monkey, please. Thank you.
And then when it's over, you go back. It's like, can I have my money back? And like, no, we get that a lot. No.
it's we run into this sometimes. It just is amazing to me. I guess it's like they can't decide what to call it. They call it one thing, it doesn't get a lot of play. So then they issue it again with another poster and a different thing. And here's a VHS box.
Yay! There we
Yeah.
go.
Body suckers.
Body suckers.
Yeah.
Check out the size of that sucker.
Yeah, and there's nurse so and so who was supposed to watch Jiminy, keep her eye on Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah. I mean, at least this one's a little more honest. It's okay. I can't tell exactly what's going on, but it looks like there's a large crab monster attacking. So
Yeah.
I'm
maybe
guessing
it's
that's
Attack of the Crab Monsters too.
UK with the 18 sticker on there.
Oh.
Invasion of the Body Suckers.
It could be Canada. I don't think Canada doesn't use the same thing. All right.
I want to know what the story is behind it being called Insect and then going. I mean, was it just called Insect in the U.S. or was it called Blue Monkey in Canada and then Insect here?
As far as I remember, it was called Blue Monkey in the U.S. And I don't know if when you went to see it, it said Insect. If it's
Okay,
kinda
so
like-
get this. The working title was actually Green Monkey.
That makes a whole
well,
lot
that
of
clears things up completely.
sense. No, that's the proper title for this movie.
And Insect, if you watched it, it was streaming on Tubi. If you watched it, that's what
it
the
said
title
Insect.
comes up.
Yeah.
Yeah, with an
But it's listed
exclamation
on
point.
Tubi as Blue Monkey.
Yes.
Also,
kinda
in
like how-
Mexico,
When you watch Humanoids from the Deep, the title is Monster. I'm like,
yeah.
wow.
And in Mexico, it's Insecto.
Uh,
And in the Czech Republic, the video title was Inseminator.
ooh.
Okay.
I don't know.
That didn't happen either.
Eleanor, we need your help on this one.
That was probably just the Czechoslovakian edit of the movie had a scene we didn't get to see.
But anyway, so that was that one. Oh, then we have
Ta-da!
different Blue Monkey poster that has screaming nurses and a big thing.
I remember Photoshop too. It's cut and paste function was not that great, and this is. But again, at least this one does tell you, it's called Blue Monkey, but that does look more like a giant bug, and
they're trying to make it look a little blue, I think.
And
Maybe.
this also kind of makes it look like a comedy, like a low budget, trauma type comedy, which it's also not. It's I don't know how
it
you
did have Joe Flaherty and Robin Duke in it.
Oh, that
Yes.
that meant something to me because
that too. I forgot those. That was definitely a comedy. And let's see. And
that's a pretty good.
There
That's
we go.
actually I like that. That's
that's quite
G-Juresc.
accurate.
And that's kind of cool.
this is German.
Oh, see, that looks like a Roger Corman movie from the 90s.
This is the Denken, the Toten. They think they kill.
Gesundheit.
But is insect the word insect in German? I would have thought the Germans would
I
have
don't
some
know.
incredibly long guttural.
Yeah, you
word.
would think
Bug.
so. Like
Das Bogen!
six-legged connecting.
Das Fliegenwagen's That's butterfly.
All right.
Okay. Ooh.
Yeah, we just offended all the
Oh,
Germans.
yeah. What did the Germans ever do?
And you know what? I'm going to go straight to the special effects here. Now, Bill says, Canadian horror. I love how they both just kind of whip that laser around.
I
It
I think that scene was probably way more exciting when it was written down and they were imagining, oh yeah, we're gonna have a guy, he's gonna be holding a laser zapping at the bug, and that does sound pretty cool. But when you're watching it, it just looks like me with my cat and just a little
Pen
laser
light on the
pointer
wall.
chasing it around. It's like
Yeah,
for the eyes, and then I guess if you go in the eyes, it explodes them because their eyes are like little magnifying glasses. So when you hit them with the laser, it magnifies.
That's how that works.
I guess I'm trying to wrangle some science out of this movie because otherwise it's like,
Well, it
I was like,
stands
how do
for
we,
the
because these movies always have a problem. How do we explain why there's a giant bug? And usually they put in the minimum of effort, radiation. Okay, yeah, radiation does shit, I guess so. But this is just like a bunch of kids are playing in the lab and they find a can of whoop ass and they pour it on this thing. And okay. And that's it. That's all we're giving you. Go away. All right.
So if you guys are watching this and you're wondering it, there's a big sign on the door that says ND YAG laser, which stands for neodymium doped yttrium aluminum garnet.
Which is the jewel that powers the laser, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Well, obviously, I think
used for dentistry.
Yeah. Dentistry.
Medicine,
Yeah, like
manufacturing.
Fighting
Hey,
giant bugs.
It's used for everything you can think of. For
I thought
laser.
it was bad enough when the dentist pokes my teeth with that sharp tool, but he's going to use a laser that can destroy
Yeah, I
a
don't know.
giant praying mantis.
This is going to prick a little bit. You're going to feel a little prick.
You'll feel a little pressure.
The PPO in this hospital is lacking. I'll say that much.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I was laughing. I really was laughing pretty hard at that stuff. I mean, we have this pandemic disease that we don't know anything about, and the one doctor, Susan, like Dr. Glass, who, by the way, wears really big glasses. I don't know.
Get it?
Anyway,
Get it?
She's walking around with her mask hanging down off her neck, and when she puts it on, she just shoves it up under her glasses and walks into it.
Oh yeah, there's this one scene where an actor, a woman was having an episode. She was one of the quarantined people who was really feeling ill, and she was all of a sudden like she like sits up and she's screaming like something really horrible is happening, and as soon as that happens, that the Dr. Glass takes her mask off, takes off her gloves, and jumps right in.
Yeah, the thing to do.
Yeah.
Have we learned nothing?
We've learned so much since then.
I do like
So
the
that was
blood. It's really, really red. Very
Well, what was the lady's name that came in the room, kept coming in the room with the bottle of liquor?
Dee
Dee
Dee.
Dee.
Yeah.
Dee Dee just walks in and she's like, "Now, Dee Dee, there's a very vicious disease floating around in the air. You don't want to keep walking through here. None of them have a mask or anything
No,
on."
no. So stop breathing.
Yeah.
She
Go
walked
back
in
to
the
your room.
emergency exit.
That's the only door I ever saw her come through. Every time she walked in the room.
Well, she
Oh,
couldn't
Lord.
read the sign now. Let's be fair.
Well, I love that middle picture where they both get completely splattered with blood.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was just like, we got to do that.
That's
we
always
gotta.
a plus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the woman screaming to the point of when she did that, I actually was thinking, did they do some like, they didn't have computer graphics, and I swear they did one of those mouth stretching
Oh yeah. She could fit 2 fists into that mouth.
effects.
Well, she was a hell of a screamer, I must say.
She was a good screamer. It's good
She
for our
was.
movie.
Oh, and she kept doing it. She screamed. She screamed twice, and then we switched to wherever Steve Railsback is, Detective Bishop, and he listens and hears her scream twice, and then we switched to the doctors, and they hear her scream twice. Does that mean she screamed 6 times?
Yeah, yes. And then the problem with it, the payoff is not there. They go into the room, and I'm expecting, wow, for all this screaming,
Yeah.
It's just
gotta-
a mess.
that bed's got to look like it's made out of intestines or something. But really, it just looks like housekeeping hasn't gotten there. It's no big.
Yeah, there are no bodies, no entrails, just
No.
slime.
A little bit of slime on the table.
Yeah.
It was like, man.
See, that's where the I think
You'd think they were
maybe
just making whoopee and they left the scene.
it was
Yeah.
a comedy and we didn't totally get it.
Oh my God, Martian snot.
So here's the I don't know what you call this, the larva worm
Sure.
slash
Yeah,
thing.
it's a larva.
And that thing coming out of that guy's mouth was pretty nasty.
That's
and there's
pretty cool.
Yeah, it was
slime all
moving
over his
around,
face,
wiggling
so-
around. At first, his neck bulges a little bit.
Yeah, that was actually
Little
pretty well
bladder
done.
effect.
Little
for you
bladder effect,
makeup
and those
effects
are always
lovers.
cool.
But it was really bizarre when she cuts into it. Not only does this glowing green slime come out of it, but sparks fly off.
Yeah.
Of it.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That was, yeah, and no explanation, no questioning it, nothing. You
Nobody
know,
says,
And also,
why
why
sparks?
is she cutting into it? She's not an entomologist.
But
Leave it
if
alone for the
If we're
real
watching
scientists.
this, we don't really deserve an explanation.
I guess
Or-
this is true.
Yeah, if you're going to be nitpicking about it, you're just begging to be disappointed.
Right.
So stop it already.
I mean, the title of the movie is Blue Monkey. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. She's just a doctor in the hospital. And
Right.
she's gonna
Just a doctor.
I'm gonna cut this thing open, and I don't know what she was gonna find.
Well,
The
they
cure, I guess.
Full
when
of
they
goo.
when they scanned it, they couldn't see the innards of the thing
Oh, that's true.
because they said it's like encased in a shell, which is odd because it was just as flexible with the shell on as with the shell off. But
Yeah.
I guess she wanted to see what was going on inside.
Yeah,
It's
that was
full
a
of
cool
green
shot.
stuff.
It makes
The
no
amount of
sense
green
whatsoever,
stuff.
but it was a cool shot.
Yeah.
That's right.
The amount of green stuff that came out looks like it would fill the whole
Well,
worm.
there was green stuff all over that place, wasn't there? I mean, all right. So now we have
Got my father-in-law up there on eating his Polish sausage. Dang.
Enjoying your kielbasa, Dad?
Yeah.
Yeah,
somebody needs to do the Heimlich maneuver. I'm sorry. All right.
Ooh,
So Chad said he liked the things hanging.
more
Which
icky
were-
stuff.
People,
Big old hanging sacks. What's not to like?
I didn't really get what that was until later on. There was a close up, and it was those two kids the two kids that were screwing in the one room, right?
Well, let's not confuse people. We're not talking about the little kids like the kid with
No.
leukemia.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right.
We're talking
The
They're
nurse and
fine.
the orderly, I guess.
young man, young woman.
No, the Goonies make it out of this movie intact. They're fine.
In the middle was I think is the Queen, which the animation of the legs didn't entirely work, but it still the thing was kind of
well,
cool.
it was
And then
just hatching. It didn't have a lot of vigor at this point in time.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
There you go.
it was kind of like what's the one with the Volkswagen Spider?
Oh yeah.
The amazing spider invasion.
Amazing Spider Invasion, yeah. So the bottom shot, I think, is the queen laying eggs.
Laying eggs.
Right.
As queens do.
Yes.
James
And that
Cameron
was actually that was well done, I thought.
Oh, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
very translucent and gooey. You know, the ovipositor that was expelling these eggs looked very organic and fleshy. But one thing that I found really fascinating was what Dr. Elliot Jacobs was saying when he was giving commentary about this life form he'd never seen or heard of, or nobody has ever seen. He seemed to know everything about its life cycle.
Yeah.
They could be 10 million of these in a year.
Yeah, here we go. Oh my God, it's giving birth. My bag. The creature is a hermaphrodite, having both male and female sexual organs, an ingenious method of survival. It's able to protect the female creature until it's ready. Ready for what? Reproduction of the species. Oh, great. Isn't it? Insects are so superior to man in many aspects.
Oh, wow. Dr.
Judging-
Exposition.
Judging from the size of the abdomen, the female creature should start laying eggs within the hour. How many? Oh, the only species which even vaguely resembles this insect is capable of reproducing 500 to 600 eggs at one time. Amazing, isn't it? Shit, we could be dealing with 500 of these things at a minimum. Let's get out of here. Come on, will you, damn it?
I've said enough. They learned a lot from her cutting open that larva, so maybe, I take back what I said.
It just goes on and on. I mean, he seems to know everything. And he's saying, okay, it's a hermaphrodite, and here it is, a male, and it's giving birth to a female. And
Right.
Like, what sense does this make? These sentences don't go together.
He's just pulling it out.
But he's a scientist.
He's a scientist.
He's an entomologist.
His part was only written to give that exposition, and then after that, he was anyway. So,
and this is before the internet, so it's not like he's on his phone, hitting Chat GPT or anything to come up with. He's just making it up.
Siri, what's a blue monkey?
I think what they wanted to do is just overwhelm you with this sciencey talk, so that you would just kind of
shut up and
check your brain at the box office and give up.
Yeah,
your eyes glassed over until they had to scream and run.
He was.
I said that. My phone started trying to look up blue monkey.
There you go. That's funny. See. No,
we
is
also
true.
have the insect.
Ooh, there we go.
Look at that. Yeah, there we are.
As the entomologist calls it, this is the male protecting the female. Yes,
and I would have ditched the antenna, but the legs look appropriately nasty. I wouldn't want to have those stuck into my abdomen. He's got big fangs.
Now it's kind of interesting because the closest animal to this is a praying mantis.
Yeah,
but in this case, the raptorial arms of the praying mantis are coming out of its back rather than coming out of the front of its body. And rather than walking on four legs like a praying mantis, it's actually walking on two like a human being. Perhaps having something to do with the fact that it was a man in a suit.
Well, I never did
that
yet.
helped.
So
well, he did get a credit at the end.
He
for
did
wearing the
he
suit.
did.
Yeah.
This is a pointless question. I totally realize,
Please.
but the old guy who pricks himself on the plant that she got from
that doesn't have thorns.
Africa.
Yeah.
Was it?
Oh, let's see.
Where did she get it from?
It was from an island, a volcanic island south of Micronesia.
Sumatra.
That narrows it down a little bit, anyway.
Krakatoa, east of Java.
Oh, that's
And
right.
so,
She got a name
because he got his finger pricked.
Didn't the monkey from Dead Alive come from Somalia?
I was just going to say the Sumatran
worm-
death monkey.
No, she said
the
it was
worm crawled out of his mouth.
Koseluk. Koseluk was the name of the island.
Koseluk.
For those keeping track.
The monkey, so the worm crawls out of his mouth, and that comes from that finger prick, I guess. And then
Right.
they accidentally, I don't know, what did those kids? All those kids dumped that magic growth hormone stuff on.
Whoop ass.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It's the same thing that made the Powerpuff Girls.
Anyway, And so I guess it grew and came out and became an adult Kaboom. Yeah,
That's something that's amazing. Isn't that something?
Yep.
that is.
Now, I do have, to be honest, I do have the same problem with a much, much better film, if I can be subjective here, Alien, that it starts out, there's the impregnation via the chest burst, face hugger, and you have this parasite, this chest burster that comes out, which is not too unlike the size of the wormy thing that comes out of this guy's mouth.
Yeah.
And then the next time you see the alien, it is already a full-fledged 7-foot high monster. Makes me wonder how what was it consuming in that cavernous empty ship? Lots of spiders.
My theory is that that's the whole thing, that saliva, that the fact that it's got like acid blood and everything, is that its saliva can pretty much melt anything and make it consumable.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you, when I went to see Alien, I saw it like as soon as I could.
Yes.
And this was hard to believe, ladies and gentlemen, but there was a time when you would go to a movie and know almost nothing about it. The trailer gave you nothing.
It
the
was
poster
just a teaser.
gave you nothing.
Didn't show anything.
You go there, you didn't know what to expect. When that poor guy, Harry Dean Stanton, when he's like looking for Jones, and all of a sudden behind him you see, and it's blurry, something big suddenly go down behind him. We were like, OMG.
Yeah.
We were blown away by that. That movie is just a master class in how to do this.
Yeah, it's terrifying, and it's brilliant. So this is maybe not on quite the same level.
No, maybe not.
But there is that same issue I have. Like, what was this thing eating? I mean, I know ultimately it was attacking lots of people, but it had the growth hormone, and if you have some kind of growth chemical, it usually is you have to take many doses over a period of years or something to have anything happen.
It's a one-time.
But in this case, boom, and it was like just minutes. They came back after 30 minutes. Yeah. And sometime during that period, the kids had doused it with this growth chemical. and then poof, it's a giant monster.
You know what they should have done?
Quickly subdues two people.
They should have had a scene where they go down to the morgue and all the bodies are missing.
There you go.
Yeah, it's been eating the bodies and getting big and strong. It's like Wheaties.
Or they're
if
all
it was an American film, it would be. But this is Canada. They're nice people.
Yeah,
that's a little bit too gross for.
It went down to Tom Hortons. It had some coffee and some donuts, and
Well, let's move on to.
Well, that Tim Hortons coffee, man. You go.
Tim Hortons. That's right. Yeah.
People.
Steven Railsback.
I was joking about this, but honestly, he looks so unhappy. Like he wants to kill his agent.
That's in every movie.
How did it come to this?
I've never seen him smile in any movie he's ever been in.
I was Charles Manson, damn it. He was a great Charles Manson. He was actually an almost too terrifyingly good Charles Manson.
He made me, as a kid, when I saw that, made me afraid to go to sleep at night, thinking Charles Manson was going to come and kill me. Mm-hmm. That's why I hate Steve Railsback. What's going on?
By the way, I should have brought this up while we were talking, but the guy that played the creature was Ivan E. Roth. Not much information on him, but he was in a lot of movies that we've seen. Night of the Creeps, Night of the Comet, episode of Tales from the Crypt, and he's always playing something like The Mummy.
Okay.
Night of the Creeps, he was a psycho zombie. He was a character named Willie in Night of the Comet. And Zombie in Dead Heat.
So, Ralph, when you hear an actor like that, I mean, it tells you someone who's doesn't get bothered by sitting in a chair for long periods of time, isn't claustrophobic, not a diva, has a bladder like a racehorse.
Yeah.
Well, he did acting. He did acting stuff too. I should.
He wasn't always
the
covered up.
Familiar with.
He wasn't ashamed of his looks, I guess, entirely.
Yeah. All right, Steve Railsback.
Steve Railsback.
Isn't there a story about? Isn't there a story about was it Bill? Is it you or was it Santos maybe that met him? And
Oh, I never met him. Must have been something.
okay, I think maybe it was Santos.
What happened? What was the story? How did it go?
Well, it was one of those stories I never heard.
Oh,
Well, that's the
asked
best
him-
kind.
Great setup.
He said, I'll tell you. He said, I don't want to tell it on the air. I'll tell you later.
oh
And then he
no,
never did.
no.
Oh,
So
we'll
And
never
now, of course,
know.
we know him from our favorite Life Force,
Yes.
another
Yes.
movie where literally every person in the movie is apparently acting in a different movie.
Yeah, my only beef with Steve Railsback is he got to be with Matilda May on the set of that
Yeah.
movie, and I didn't. Life is not fair, folks. It's just not fair.
Well, maybe that's why he's so sour in this one. He got to be with naked Matilda May, and look at this center picture. He's with Martha Ray, denture wearer. I mean, quite the come down. It's like probably every week he would call up Toby Hooper. It's like, when are we making Life Force 2? Come on. He was such a
Working
good
on a
Charles
script
Manson.
now. It's going to be a comedy, musical comedy.
That's fine. He was such a good Charles Manson. When you finally, when you get old enough, you can. Now we got YouTube, and you can look up the real Charles Manson. It's like just a stupid goof compared to
He's a better Manson
better
than
Manson
Manson.
than Manson. Yeah,
More accurate than the actual person.
Yeah,
that movie was Helter Skelter, right?
yeah.
Good stuff. I
Yeah,
remember
it was
watching it.
CBS. It was a
Yeah.
CBS miniseries, I think it was.
You would think, how good could a TV movie about the Manson murders be? It's like, well, obviously they're not going to show you, because that's pretty horrible stuff. But it was intense and really well done.
it was a what would you call that? An identifying role. It's hard to look at him without thinking of that.
Yeah.
Defining.
He was so
Defining
good.
role.
Defining role. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
But he wasn't typecast. He did play other parts.
He did.
He did.
Yeah. Stuntman as well, right?
But this one, yes, it's Stuntman, a great movie. But this just feels like a paycheck.
Well, in IMDb, it said he was embarrassed about this movie.
Yeah. I read that too. It said he's so embarrassed by it.
Now, these movies are just weird. Is this a Corman?
It feels like it, but I don't think it is.
Not this
I
one.
don't
Not
think
this
so.
one. I'm looking at Railsback's list. There's a movie called Cockfight
Oh, that is
that stars Warren O, Terry Dean
Monty
Stanton,
Hellman
Ed Begley
directed
Jr., Troy Donahue.
Monty Hellman directed it, and it was I think it was one of Corman's few
Yes.
movies that he had a hard time making a profit on. They changed its name a bunch of times, and nobody,
Cockfighter.
even
Cockfighter.
cockfighters don't want to go see a movie called Cockfighter.
Oh, why not?
And much like Blue Monkey, a lot of the people who went to see Cockfighter came away disappointed because they were misled by the title. So
Oh, it is, yeah, produced by
Yeah.
Corman. Yeah, yep, you got it,
Okay.
buddy. I just thought I looked at who was in it and the title and that kind of stuff. It just seemed
I'd go see it just because it had Warren Oates and Harry Dean Stanton.
that's right. That's
yeah,
right.
that is
Hello, cast. But that's
Yeah.
a different movie.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
you know,
let's
I
start talking about Cockfighter now.
Yeah. Anything to get away from Blue Monkey. I think part of the problem with a movie like that, why is he embarrassed by this? I'm sure he's probably made worse movies. It's not a good thing when you're the star of a bad movie. A movie that, is really kind of looks pretty low rent and doesn't do very well and everything. It's bad to be the star. If you're a guest star, yeah, no problem. If you're a character actor and you're like the first victim or whatever, you pay no penalty. But this is one of those movies where, when they're casting around for who's going to be the leading actor here and they get to Steve Railsback, they go, what was the last couple of movies he did? We're not going to get any help there.
Well, he made a lot of stinkers too. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen quite a few movies that I didn't like him in, but I'm biased. I hate his guts.
What was the origin of that?
Helter Skelter.
Oh, okay. The one he was great in.
Yeah, the one he was good at, and I watch it now and I liked it, but as a kid,
Yeah.
and I saw it, I was just petrified of
Oh, okay. As a child, you had some kind of beef with serial killers, I guess.
Well, it was the stories my mother and her sisters would sit around telling about Charles Manson.
Nice.
So then when I because I would sneak and listen when they didn't, because I wasn't allowed in the room when they were talking about this stuff. But I
Oh,
would
that
be
makes
down
it
the
scarier.
hallway. I'd be down the hallway listening in because I loved being scared as a kid. And man, they would just tell some of that stuff that he did. So then I saw the movie and I'm like, oh my God, I'll never fall asleep.
You know what?
They tried to protect you, Chad.
I did that too. I
Yeah.
hid down the hallway, and all I ever heard is, "What are we going to do with Jeff?"
Yeah.
How do you solve a problem like Maria?
Yeah. I mean, you know, for a 60s or 70s kid, Charles Manson was like our Ed Gein. He was the boogeyman, except he was real.
I think he played Ed Gein.
Ed Gein. He played Ed Gein. You're absolutely right. In
Okay.
2000.
There you are.
All right.
See, now he's being typecast as serial killers. They're like, hey, if you
Well,
put
he
on
got
some
older,
weight,
so
would
he
you like
played
to
an
be,
older serial killer.
John Wayne
You know?
Gacy? Like, shut up. Don't call me.
Ooh,
I
that has
just put
Terry
on
Snodgrass.
75 pounds.
Yeah. All right. Well, we also have
Oh,
Gwyneth
well, it's Dr. Rachel
Walsh.
Carson.
Yeah. An obvious use of the name.
Rachel Carson.
Yeah, that was a little
Ring a
too,
bell for anybody?
Yeah.
Author of Silent
Spring.
Spring.
Ellen Spring.
So,
I shelved many a copies of that book.
warning us
My
about the ecology crumbling if people don't turn things around and do the right thing.
She got DDT banned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Gwyneth Walsh. What's
And
that?
I didn't recognize her.
Star
She was
Trek?
one of the Star Trek, the two Klingon sisters who.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Is that Malcolm McDowell there?
it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what was that, Star Trek Generations or something?
Well, she was in Generations and she was in Deep Space Nine as the same character.
Yeah. So they introduced those characters in the TV shows, and then spoiler alert, killed them off in Generations. They were fun. She was chewing up the scenery, but she was great.
Oh my God. She's on Virgin River. My wife watches that.
Virgin River?
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a nighttime soap. It's a streaming series. I forget what channel it's on. This little community back in the woods where you got the veterinarian, you got the doctor, you got the drug dealers back in the woods in the shack. And
Butcher, Baker, Candlestick.
oh, she was in the Man in High Castle series. Too.
Oh, really? Yeah. Hey, Malcolm McDowell went down to Virgin River, and now it's just called River.
Huh? you mean
Usually the little light comes on that says laugh or applaud. I haven't seen it.
McDowell?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was like that.
Oh, come on. He's a lady killer.
I love Malcolm.
He was married to Mary Steenburgen back in the day. He's got game.
Who's that? Malcolm McDowell?
Yeah.
No, Malcolm Steenburgen.
Well, we are talking about the blue monkey.
Yeah, are we? Are we really?
Monkey.
What?
She's got a pretty decent career. I'm surprised I don't know who she is. She was in a Masters of Horror episode.
She's fine in this. I mean, like Ralph keeps saying, all the actors here did what the script told them to do. They're blameless.
Yeah, I don't think they improvised all that nonsense.
Yeah, I
Oh,
need to check her
Although
out
if the
on
script was like that exposition you were reading, maybe they needed to improvise a bit.
Oh, she was in Forever Night. Did you watch that?
My wife did.
Vampire
So
guy.
I guess I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that one.
Vampire by night, detective by day.
3 episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation as that Klingon person.
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine, 1 episode. Anyway, all right. I don't need to belabor that, but I could.
Yeah.
Um,
Was
all
she
right.
in any Western TV shows?
Yeah. Don't get him started.
Yeah, they'll be looking. We're too far up in the 80s. So familiar
Oh.
faces.
Oh,
Dean Wormer.
Where's your
Dean
Killer
Wormer?
Clowns? I thought maybe you'd wear your Killer Clowns shirt, Ralph.
0.0.
Yeah. Let's see. Sheriff Mooney. That's who he is.
Yes.
From Killer
Yeah.
Clowns from Outer Space.
Who
I
becomes
like
a
it.
hand puppet himself.
I loved him when I saw. I mean, I saw Animal House at the perfect time to see
Yeah.
Animal House.
Yeah.
You know,
So that's why you joined a fraternity.
it's funny. And then those folks on the bottom. I mean, Joe Flaherty. I love SCTV. Not enough people know
Yeah.
about SCTV.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was
I used to
great.
stay up till midnight. That's when the local station ran it in Florida, SCTV. And I used to stay up to watch that every week.
For my
Okay.
money, funnier than Saturday Night Live.
Mhm.
And his wife is Robin Duke.
Who
She was
became
a SNL
Saturday Night Live? Yeah.
alumni, yeah.
You got to give it up for Count Floyd. Come on.
Oh, the best.
Oh,
Ooh,
my
scary
gosh.
stuff, hey boys and girls.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. That was so
Ooh.
scary.
Well, that was
Ooh.
Strange
Read
Brew.
my book. Ooh, 3D.
I love the Strange Brew guys. What were they called? The Mackenzie brothers.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Brothers.
And what was the other one? The 3D
Take off,
House of
hosers.
Stewardesses.
Dr. Tongue's 3D.
Dr.
House.
Tongue.
Yeah.
And then you go. Oop, wrong hand.
We had
Oh,
Catherine
okay.
O'Hara.
So for those listening,
Andrea Martin.
Jeff is putting a pen up against the screen and pulling it back again, just like this was in 3D.
No, I'm just making a noise.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You
Anyway,
can make the noise without the pen
With a
moving.
synthesizer. Yeah, I know. Needs the prop. But yeah,
All
and
right.
of course, this entire subplot could have been cut out of this movie with no loss whatsoever.
Oh, come on. It gave you some chuckles,
Oh yeah, I mean, I appreciate it, but
an
as far
occasional
as
chortle, perhaps.
they're barely in it. Some of these things are almost like, the law says we have to have X amount of Canadian actors.
Okay.
You got to
what the
have
hell
some
was the
little.
thing at the end though, because they had that little flash at the end
Yeah,
down the hallway, and you hear her screaming, "It's coming! It's coming!
The baby
It's
was.
here!" or something like that.
yeah.
Which are you talking about the very end of the movie or when she's
Yeah.
The very
Oh,
end. Yeah.
okay. Because I think she also said that when she was giving birth,
Right.
and the monster was coming right behind her. So it was kind of funny because she says it's coming, and she's talking about the
coming,
baby.
It's coming. I can feel it coming. Yeah.
Right. She's talking about the baby, but look out. There's this monster coming
But then
up behind
at the
her.
very end of the movie, the camera does one of those, down the hallways, down, and then
Yeah.
you hear somebody saying that again. I thought, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
I don't know if we're supposed to do anything. It's just one of those obligatory. The end, or is it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All
Get
right.
ready for the sequel.
Yeah. They're still waiting.
The top picture there, the other extras,
Oh, yeah.
so to speak, Susan Anspach.
She's like
And-
the gung-ho nurse who takes off
Mhm.
her protective gear when she
Mhm.
gets
Yeah.
close to a patient.
Oh, a doctor. She was a doctor.
Doctor.
Dr. Glass. And I know her. I knew her name, but I sure as heck can't tell you why. Oh, she was in 5 Easy Pieces. Play It Again,
Oh.
Sam.
Played against Sam. What role was she in that?
Nancy. I don't know who that is. Does that help?
No. I love Played Against Sam. And there's a whole sequence where Woody Allen's trying to, find a date. So she may have been one of those.
The Landlord. Oh, I went all the way back, but no westerns. At least that I could see. Anyway, I recognize her name, but I did not recognize her face. Now, when I look at her IMDb, now it looks kind of familiar. So I don't know. Just the way they had her done up with the blonde and those great big glasses.
Big hunting glasses.
That's what. And then the fellow that played Elliot, the entomologist, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
is Don Lake. He looked familiar as well. Oh, he's got 133 credits. So that's
131 Canadian credits. It's only
Yeah.
about
Well, I don't
100
know.
American.
He's been
Yeah,
in
what does that
every-
convert to in U.S. credits? Well, the thing is, you look at a film like this and you might think maybe some of these people were just in this one movie, but I mean, actually, the people who worked behind the camera and
Oh,
in
sure.
front of the camera had a lot of credits. They had worked on films before this and worked on films after this. So
Yeah, these don't feel like amateur non-actors
Yeah.
who got corralled
Yeah.
into making.
No.
These feel like folks who actually did something and came in and did their stuff. Which
yeah, they were sincere. They committed to their roles.
have any of these people been in a Cronenberg movie? Usually, no matter what Canadian movie I watch, I see someone who's like, "Oh,
He was in Police Academy, Mr. Wig.
okay, that's funny."
Of course he was.
Yeah,
All right. But he was good too. He was
Yeah, he's
sort of the I don't know, how would you describe him? He was kind of
Information
exposition.
dump.
very
Information.
very verbal about everything.
Very chatty, this fellow.
Very chatty. That's what I was going for.
Yeah,
And
you
then
couldn't have
on the-
Dee Dee come up with all that exposition. No one
Yeah.
would believe it. You know.
Well, at the bottom there is her name was Marwella Harbison,
Oh,
and that
Fred.
was Helen Hughes, and she was the one that had the greenhouse with the plant from the island off the coast of Indonesia.
Yes, Cola K.
ultimately her fault. Then all of this.
She also has a pretty long list of credits, 70 credits. Oh, she was in The Incubus.
Oh, there we go.
She
So
is old enough to have been in the Rebels, so check for that too.
Well, she doesn't have enough. She just goes back as far as what's logged in here, 1977.
Oh.
So she was cool. And then her buddy Dee Dee, who shows up with the bottle of whiskey, was
It's so deep.
played Dee Dee. Dee Dee Wilkins, Joy Coghill, 46 credits. So yeah, but that was a fun running gag, I thought.
Yeah.
And then I kept waiting. I said, okay, when are we going to find out? So that they didn't do anything with that. Like Dr. Glass figures out from them that alcohol is the cure of the disease. But does she run around and try to get everybody drunk? What's that Irish movie? Is it it's Grabbers? right?
Grabbers.
Grabber.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that where the aliens, the alcohol,
Yeah. Yes.
and they made the horrible mistake of attacking Ireland? Classic alien blunder.
That was kind of the theme there. So,
Yeah.
I loved the pair of them, and she was so over the top, and I don't know what the deal was with those sunglasses, but I guess that was just her shtick.
That's our
Or those-
Dee Dee.
She had to wear
Oh, well.
glasses.
She was blind after all.
Oh, was she?
Yes, she was.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't get that at all.
You didn't. Yeah, she walked with a cane, and she said when she was told she wasn't supposed to come in this door that she couldn't read the sign.
Okay.
And that's a joke because she's blind. Of
Yeah.
course, she can't read the sign.
So I was totally expecting at some point in the movie she was going to like walk up to the monster and grab him by the claw and start walking with him, thinking it was basically
Yeah.
Velma from Scooby Doo. But alas,
Have a drink. All right.
Well,
Any
I just have
other,
a question. I just have a question
yeah.
here. So we've got a Joey, we've got a Dee Dee. Was there a Johnny and a Marky in this
there should have been.
collection?
You're right. Absolutely.
No,
You guys.
I was just wondering if there was a Ramones reference going on.
There should be a Ramones reference in every movie.
And also, it's interesting that the detective's name is Bishop, and this movie came out shortly after Aliens.
Yeah, that's
with
true.
the android who was named Bishop, but it could well be just a coincidence. Unlike Rachel Carson,
I
which is
doubt
not a
that.
coincidence.
Rachel Carson. I mean, if they used Rachel Carson.
Yeah,
That's just so odd.
But it's funny because it's not like a lot of science fiction movies where somebody, the kids,
Yeah.
but where somebody did something horribly wrong and that's what started everything going.
Yeah.
It's not like some mad scientist created this monster in a lab. Somehow getting pricked by this plant impregnates you with this parasite that then turns into a giant bug that has weird life cycle issues.
That's a Canadian movie. They're not looking to blame
And
someone.
spews green slime everywhere. It's
An
dripping
American
down the
movie,
walls,
American
it's
movie,
on the
a guy will
ceiling.
invent a growth serum. So I'm with him so far, and then he's like, and I'm gonna test it on scorpions. And you're like, really? That's where you went with this.
So, Chad, are we done yet?
Is this a
No,
trick question?
You're asking
No,
if we covered everything or if there's
Yeah,
something more to say.
Oh, usually there's a trick behind it. I have to give up
Yeah.
the first point.
No,
or
there was
something
no
like that.
trick. Chad?
Yeah, we're done.
Okay.
Oh, well, one thing I thought was funny was at the very beginning.
We're done when we tell you we're
So
done.
now that we're done, you see the hospital, and there's a big sign out front that says Mill Valley Clinic, but the characters never call it that. They always refer it to County Memorial.
Yeah.
So it's like, does this have two names, or was that sign out front to mislead people for some reason? I don't know.
You know, there was a lot of extra. There was a lot of extra science in here. There was that whole thing about he's got high calcium levels. His bones are dissolving and flooding his circulatory
Right.
system.
Yes. Yeah.
Did we need to know that? Is there
And-
anything that shows that? Did he turn to a jellyfish? I don't know.
And
Yeah,
they
I
talked about how you can't kill it. Well,
You can't kill it with conventional weapons.
yeah,
Sure.
it's got armor plating, so
Yeah.
you can't. Bullets would be useless against it.
Yeah, and then they said
Bishop
something
had
like-
to empty his gun anyway.
It's an insect, and as you know, you can dissolve an insect's head, and it just grows right back. I'm like,
Yes.
no,
That was
I-
amazing.
Oh, he
It's
did.
pointless.
That was a nice scene when he clipped the guy's head off.
Oh, when the bug clipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was where he finally employed those praying mantis arms to lop the guy's head off.
And then you mentioned it, Bill, but these military guys outside, somebody jumps out the window and they shoot him.
Yeah.
And then they
Thousand
say, I think
times.
they say we got to give them 2 more hours and we're gonna blow the place up. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say, so there's a disease inside this building, this contained building with windows and doors and walls and everything. and if we don't come up with some magic juju that's going to fix it, we're going to blow the place up, scattering it to the ashes, up into the atmosphere to be. It's like,
Return of
wow.
the Living Dead part.
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking.
I think this was. I need to watch this again because I think it's a lot funnier than I thought it was intended to be.
The question is how much of that humor is intentional and how much is
Right.
unintentional.
That's it. That
Well, that's why I said at the beginning it feels like a movie that was geared toward Hollywood, but Hollywood didn't want it. It had that kind of Hollywood, or they were trying to emulate that Hollywood feel of having small children in it.
Yeah.
Having the comedy mixed with the big monster type thing. You know the kind of movie I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Creature feature.
Yeah, it just seemed like they were trying to emulate that, and it was I don't know. It didn't on a low budget.
Return of the Living Dead or something like that. Although
Part of the
that's-
problem was there was no sense of danger, because at no moment did I ever feel like either the kids or the little old ladies were going to get killed. And who did get killed? People who we didn't know, who show up. Oh, here's a janitor we have not been introduced to, don't know his name. He's gone. And sure enough, literally, he was gone.
He was great too.
You have a red shirt on?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those ethical monsters that only kills people you don't know anything about. They were probably awful people. They were asking for it.
I was shocked that neither of the doctors got it.
Yeah.
They were kind of asking for it.
All right, folks. You can check this out on Tubi, and I think maybe it was on Plex too.
I think it was on Plex.
And pay-per-view on Amazon and
don't pay for it.
Yes, don't be a fool.
But now I think it's time for feedback. Everybody down to feedback?
We got feedback.
Didn't you have a song for feedback too?
Chad's got feedback.
Bill.
Okay, because I get it. Okay, Death
Ship, episode 267.
Emulus 79 says, I shouted out, Who killed the Kennedys? Well, after all, it was something spooky. Okay, so get folks to understand this. The younger folks out there, look up the Rolling Stones. Download their greatest hits. Okay, you'll get to it. Sympathy for the Devil. It's awesome.
Sympathy for the Devil.
Thank
Somewhat
you,
paraphrased. Somewhat
Kennedys,
paraphrased.
The old guy gets it.
Well, and George Kennedy was in Death Ship.
Oh, that makes sense. Who
Wow.
killed the Kennedy? After all, it was
Yeah.
something spooky. All right, makes sense. I fixed it and I unfixed it. Yeah,
Jokes are always funnier when they're explained to you.
exactly.
Although so much better.
Well, I got the Kennedy part, but I didn't. I knew that quote was from something, and I didn't click on. Man, I should have clicked.
Now,
on
Beatles
Sympathy
had
for the Devil.
written a
That's
song
what I'm
called
talking
"Sympathy for the Devil." Jeff would have.
about.
known
Oh,
that.
I listen to Sympathy for the Devil a ton, but I just didn't click on that. All right, now we're getting into some serious stuff. Episode 275,
Ooh.
opera, and I think maybe Bill should read this. That was his pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you just read.
That's
read.
fair.
it.
I could do it again. This is a long one, so I can read
It
it
is.
fast.
Bucks
I think
Wild.
we got
Scott
it.
Wells, 2950 of opera. He says, this was actually my gateway into Argento. In the 90s, I was trying to expand my knowledge of horror, of world horror cinema. And though I had read much about Dario Argento, I had somehow never managed to actually see one of his films. One day on a trip to the mall with my girlfriend at the time, now wife, congratulations, we wandered into a Suncoast Video. I missed that chain. And there was a double DVD of opera, which I immediately bought. I was floored by the visuals in this. Everything seemed so rich in color and dripping in opulence. It was like someone had taken a Hammer horror and merged it with a nearly tactile Italian flair. I watched it 3 times in a row, just drinking in the visuals, and she still married you. Wow. The set pieces are tense and engaging, and the heroine is likable. The keyhole death made me jump out of my seat. As for the much commented on music, I'm not really a fan of metal, and I admit that the first time I saw this, it felt jarring, but then I realized that is sort of the point to it. An opera is often seen as an archaic and stuffy art form, but our killer is a modern devotee, almost an invader in the lofty theatricality of the opera, something bringing a visceral reality in the form of murders to the unreality of the stage. Man, I need a thesaurus to get through this stuff. He's a good writer.
He is.
Yeah, he is. Likewise, heavy metal shares many components of opera, like power chords and a bold, loud, confrontive quality. So using it is an insertion of a modern equivalent into something very traditional in a way that evokes a negative reaction. Interesting point. The dream logic that Argento showcases is definitely on display here. He absolutely uses the tropes of surrealism. Don't believe me? Watch Inferno and Un Chien Andalou back to back. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Logic in dreams does not follow the logic of reality, but the logic of aesthetics. It is not meant to be read in a straightforward way. Lucio Fulci recognized this as well and placed himself in Argento in the genre of absolute film, which was an attempt to not show concrete reality. Argento is moving away from it here, but it is still apparent. As far as the dialogue goes, I think Chad will be disappointed to find out that even the Italian dialogue is dubbed. It's a hallmark of Italian film, dating back to the time of Mussolini in World War II, when he insisted that all dialogue be re-recorded in order to be checked for political and anti-fascist content. It's all ADR in the original. While it may still give a little better look at the actor's intentions, it's still not quite going to match up. I love this film. It's probably my favorite Argento, though it trades places periodically with Suspiria and Deep Red. Thanks for covering it, folks. And thanks for that letter, Scott. I feel smarter for having read it.
Great letter, Scott. Thanks.
So
My voice is gone, but
we talked about this a little bit. Yeah, great comment, Scott. We talked about this a little bit in Classic Era, and I can't remember if it was during the episode or not, but Daphne talked about it was because I mentioned Anthony LaPena from Caltiki that he had dubbed some stuff. And she suggested a documentary called Being George Clooney, which I watched and is it is very cool, about the whole community of professional dubbers. And in other countries, it's a much bigger thing. In some places, people are celebrities. The guy that dubs George Clooney, they have take pictures with him and stuff and get autographs. and part of what it had in there, and so they go to like I think 7 or 8 different countries and talk to these different people that dubbed George Clooney, plus a bunch of other people. But the thing that I thought was interesting was, along with Mussolini, he also made sure that they dubbed the English. You know, like in the U.S., we've gotten to where we see foreign films with subtitles, at least in theaters usually. But in Europe, they still dub. And the tradition, part of that was Mussolini didn't want any foreign influence and wanted to be able to, change it if he wanted to. Anyway, but yeah, Mussolini.
Still, as I recall, they pretty much hung him upside down and shot him. So I mean, hey, he's not around anymore.
Yeah. Well, they could, but traditions.
Get yourself a boom mic. Get with the times.
Traditions. But anyway, I would highly recommend that movie if you have any interest in that at all. It's fascinating. All right. Next up, Emulous 79. And Emulous, I just want to point out to you that you've been the master of the 1 or 2 liner, and now you're just like throwing it all away.
Wow, look at that.
You want to go with this, Ralph?
Sure. Emulous 79 says, I love this movie. Discovered it in the late 90s when I was an Argento obsessive after being burned by Deep Red and Suspiria. Bought the poster and a Japanese import CD soundtrack with HMV/Virgin. Those were the days. I first hired it out from a video store in Hammersmith called Apollo as Terror from the Opera. By some weird coincidence, the road next to the shop, long gone now, is called Macbeth Street. Must have hired it out 6 times at least, cut to hell, but was glad when I finally got to see the full version many years later. The dream sequences with the throbbing brain, spiral staircase, and mystery girl are fascinating, perversely erotic. Can't find anything online about who that girl is on the bed. Mysterious. There's this, is that a word? Oneric?
Oneric, I think, yeah.
Oh, there's this oneric, subterranean feel to it, which I can't describe. The atmosphere you could cut with a razor. Ronnie Taylor's camera work is incredible. The Raven POV is nothing short of genius. The keyhole death, gliding shots following the killer. The soundtrack is jarring to some, but I didn't see it. Well, how are you going to see the soundtrack? Sorry, that's my commentary. It's kind of inventive.
It's oniric.
Oniric.
Dreamer, right?
Pertaining to dreams or dreaming.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Hey, we got the smartest viewers of any podcast.
I know. I got to look stuff up.
Wow. H.P. Lovecraft, eat your heart out. Okay. Let's see. The soundtrack is jarring to some, but I didn't see it. It's kind of inventive to blend heavy metal, electronica, classical styles. You even see that in La Chiesa, Demoni,
Church.
Phenomena. It worked for me, wildly inventive. I like how there was a variety of musicians, electronica and rock and classical. I don't get the complaints about the lack of logic. Argento's films are for the side of the brain that is all about dreaming. View it as a dream. Why this? Why that? It doesn't matter. I love Argento's bizarre and eccentric style, his originality and technical flair. There's a weird sensuality in the killings and their cruelty. It's like you can dance to all this depravity. I even like the wacky ending where Betty goes full hippie and rolls in the flowers. Nothing stupid about that, and quite beautiful, I thought. Away with the fairies.
Yep.
That's got to be the most emotional feedback reading I've ever heard.
And he Emulous is emulating Scott Wells, as Scott Wells talked about, not showing any concrete reality. It was pure film.
Yeah, they're the same person.
Yeah,
I don't know why. We just have to mention it when it doesn't make sense. We just have to mention it. I don't think we belabored it, but
I sort of like that everybody's touching on the heavy metal. It did feel kind of jarring, but as I thought about it later, there's a lot of heavy metal bands that are operatic. I mean, sometimes they have a whole side of an album will be just one song, and it's if you're anybody out there is a fan of Iron Maiden, they have a song based on the poem Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and that song goes on for like 18 minutes where they tell the story behind the poem in a song, and it's just got a lot of musical changes, a lot of quiet spoken parts in it, and it's just, I think opera or heavy metal lends itself to opera very well. I think some heavy metal.
I think my dislike of the music in opera is also a bias on my part, because I so love the more prog rock soundtracks for like Deep Red and things. That's kind of what I associate with a Argento movie, but he's under no obligation to stick with what I like.
Well, we get another reference to metal here later, Chad. So we'll move on to Jose's comment on opera, and I think we're at Chad now.
Okay. Jose says, I had a DVD release of this one that included the soundtrack CD. I'm a fan of Argento, but mostly his earlier films up to the early 80s, where things kind of went sideways. I've never really been able to warm up to this one. Your conversation about how ADR work sucks the life out of performances sure hits home. For years when I was much younger, I used to watch The Black Hole and always wondered why the performances seemed so dead and kind of flat. When I got older, I realized that most of the film was looped in post for some reason. There are only a handful of scenes where the on-set dialogue was used, and it plays much better. And then there's the notorious shot where Ernest Borgnine speaks in Anthony Perkins' voice. Yikes.
Wow. Well, that makes me want to watch
so that because that was the other thing in that movie, being George Clooney, they also talked to, there's dubbing directors and there's dubbing script translators. And according to this, the really good ones with the really good movies spend hours trying to get the translation to match to the lip movements of the actors or the cadence of the film.
Yeah, that's got to be a crazy writing exercise to work that out.
And then the people, are watching the film and talking, and they showed a short clip of them doing something, and somebody saying, "No, you missed that," and it was like, okay, so they do it over to get the timing right and the inflection to match. I was much impressed with it as compared to the kind of dubbing that we get in a lot of these older films, I think. Anyway, from Robert Baker on opera. And Bill, how's your throat
I'm
doing?
all right. I'll try. Robert Baker says, I do like this movie mainly because the kills are so good and the style of everything is still Argento. But after this, he would pretty much abandon that style he had become known for. As one of the extras on my old Anchor Bay DVD in an interview, Argento talks about how after this film, he went into a deep depression, and it took several years before he came completely out of it. One thing I have thought about his later movies, with the exception of Phantom of the Opera and Dracula, he seemed to be trying to relive the glory days of Giallo, but in a modern-day setting. I'm seeing a reevaluation of his later work, I think, because of this. I recently watched a couple, and did find I enjoy them more than I remembered, especially Sleepless. I think I need to give some of his later films another chance, except Dracula.
I don't know Dracula.
Dracula with its own little blue monkey scene.
It did have kind of a blue monkey in it, didn't it?
Yeah. But thank you. That's interesting, Robert. Thank you.
Oh, this is going to work out perfectly. So next up, episode 276, Dead and Buried. Mikey Z. Ralph, can you take that?
Okay, let's see. Dead and Buried, Mikey Z. Yes. Okay, Mikey Z. I've never seen this film, I don't think. The poster looks very familiar, though. I seem to remember the VHS with that artwork. We'll get back to you guys. And then sometime later. Well, I caught this today on Prime, and I can equivocally say I might have seen this on cable in the late 80s, early 90s.
Equivocally.
I seem to remember thinking the man, as a crazy scientist, looks familiar, The movie, especially toward the beginning, seemed uneven to me, but hearing about production interference, I can understand why. Overall, I enjoyed this film. I like the dissolve as Dobbsy was performing magic on the hitchhiker. Wonderful Stan Winston effects there. The acid death, not so. At times, the film felt like a lower class version of The Fog. A remake might be interesting if the yearning for the old days was the 80s. Imagine if there was a way to block cell phone, satellite reception over the town, then I think it would work. Have a jamming device. Please, no Spaceballs jokes. Of a kind, and then have someone like, I don't know, Robert Englund playing the same character here, carrying on Dobbs' work. You might have something to work with. Albertson was very good as the coroner, wanting to go on a sentimental journey in maintaining days of old whenever he got in the mood. A lot of misdirection with the Janet character was a nice touch. Ferrantino was fine as Dan the sheriff, with his own secret to work out, even though that twist didn't surprise me. Final analysis, a good 80s film. Not great, but after hearing the Grue Crew expound on little touches like the clothes and hairdos on the Transformed, the film might rate another look. Nice to see Gregory filling in for Chad. He, Chad, might have wanted to sit out the next one, but he picked it. Blue Monkey! It's no Frankenstein Island, but get ready for some Canucksploitation. Woof! But it does have Dean Wormer in it. Trivia. Bill Quinn was Mr. Van R on All in the Family and Archie Bunker's Place. He also appeared in the Kick the Can segment in Twilight Zone the movie. Oh yeah, he was also McCoy's dad in Star Trek V.
Thanks,
Yes.
Mikey.
Thank you, Mikey.
Monkey.
All right. And Dead and Buried, Emulous 79. Where are we at now, Chad?
Emulous 79 says, this chilled me to the core as a young teen. You can almost feel the misty dampness of the night sea air. It has that slow, eerie burn of mounting fear and atmosphere you could cut with a knife, much like The Fog or Halloween 3. It did
Yeah,
kind
lots of mist and fog and
Yeah.
a lot of damp.
Moist.
Damp. Moist. It was real moist. Okay. Thanks, Emulous. And Bill from Jerry Chandler.
From Jerry Chandler talking about Moist the movie. Dead and Buried. I
Dead
love
and
this
Moist.
movie. Dead and Moist. Ugh.
Dead and moist.
I love this movie. However, I really did not like it very much when I first saw it. There were a lot of movies in the late 70s and early 80s that sometimes just did weird for the sake of weird with no great payoff, or did horror clumsily, and I remember shutting this off after a bit because it felt like one of those. It wasn't until a later viewing when I saw the end of it and that all the moments clicked and it all worked. After that viewing, it weirdly gets better because you know what all that weirdness is and what it's actually leading to. I agree with that. Now it's a favorite of mine. I love it. I love the insane concept. I love all the reveals. This movie is a mind bleep, and then some of it is in it, and then some in its concept. You're rooting for the poor slob and pulling for him to get to the bottom of it and stop the twisted bad guy, only to discover it's too late and he's one of the reanimated creations. I love exposing new people to this film and seeing their reaction to the end scene. I partially disagree with Bill here. What? I don't
Only
think
partially.
What's
I don't
new?
Yeah. I don't think it's remake proof because nothing is. It would just be a difficult remake. But damn, the right screenwriter and director could really ramp up the mystery and horror of the early going and maybe follow the flow of the lost director's cut.
Yeah,
I'd love to see the lost director's cut. That would be cool. But
then we have one from B. Gabe. Our buddy B. Gabe's. The burnt body jump scare was reminiscent of the one in 7. Anybody? No.
The burnt
And-
rotting chopstick. It's been a while since I saw
Yeah,
7.
it's,
Yeah.
I remember the fat guy and the skinny guy in bed that they thought was dead and really wasn't dead.
and I remember the box.
In the
The
box.
box. Yeah. Time to watch that again. Oh, Bill.
And then the gluttony guy.
Yeah.
I forgot to say that.
And then he says, "You did great, Crystal. Laugh out loud." I think he's talking about the quote. Bury me. And then one from Jose. This is where I'm coming around. So during the episode, so Jose says, "I've never seen this one. That Metallica video is one." So while we were watching this, Crystal brought up this reminds me of that Metallica video where the guy is like can't move and he can't do that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then we realized she looked it up and found out it was one, and that it was based on
Johnny, get your
Gotta
gun.
Get Your Gun. Yeah. So anyway, she said, "I wish Chad would have been here. He'd have known that right off the bat," but she looked it up.
Now she learned something.
So thank you so much, Jose, B. Gabes, Jerry, Emulus, Mikey Z, Scott Wells, Robert Baker. I think that's got it covered.
Yeah, I can add the word oniric to my Rolodex.
Oniric.
of Wednesday.
Oniric.
Oniric. Oh, I want to pronounce it right.
I'm going to try it on my wife tomorrow when she asks how dinner is. I'll go, "It's oniric.
Oniric.
This is the most oniric sandwich I've ever eaten."
All right. There's plenty of ways to stay in touch. We appreciate all the comments. Please send feedback to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com, or even better yet, leave comments on Gruesome Magazine's YouTube channel or on our Facebook group, Gruesome Magazine's HNR and DOH Podcasts Facebook group, or on the website. All of that stuff works at gruesomemagazine.com. I believe the audio apps only go back about 100 episodes. So if you want to look for stuff that's farther back, you can go to gruesomemagazine.com or even decadesofhorror.com. Also, we have a Patreon channel, and we appreciate any small monthly amount that you give. And one of the things you get for that is you will get Decades of Horror episodes the day, maybe 2 days after we record them. And normally it's 12 days to 2 weeks from the time we record them before they go public. So you will get them much faster. And Decades of Horror, the 1970s, just recorded 20 episodes on each episode of Kolchak the Night Stalker. And we are done recording those, but we are going to do one wrap-up episode that will be public, just to give
It
people
was
an
a
idea.
hard and hideous journey.
But anyway, so sign up for our Patreon channel. That's it for this episode, but every 2 weeks we'll be focusing on a specific film released between 1980 and 1989. Next up, we tackle one chosen by moi, and I have picked Angel in 1983, and you'll never guess why. Rory Calhoun is in it.
There
Oh,
you
is this
go.
a horror movie?
It is, kinda. It's a
exploitation.
serial killer movie. Stars also, besides Rory Calhoun, it stars Cliff Gorman, Susan Terrell, Dick Shawn, and what is the girl that plays Angel is Donna Wilkes, and John Deal is also in it. And it's basically about life on the strip back in the day. So anyway, join us for that. Jeff gets his Rory Calhoun fix.
It seems like most people would just be fine with one or two Rory Calhoun fixes in their whole lifetime.
No.
Night of the Lepus. That's all you need. You're good.
Yeah. I mean, really, that's it.
That's
all I
the
got.
one fix I could do
Live
without.
without.
That and Motel Hell. And
But I
you're
do
good.
own the Blu-ray.
okay.
Well, Motel Hell, I have the
That's a great
4K of Motel Hell.
There you are.
I don't know why.
Hey, if you don't want those big rabbits, that's more for the rest of us, Jeff.
That's right.
Yeah. And the Texan, I have the DVD set of the Texan TV series. and about half a dozen of his westerns. So that's it, folks. Thanks, Ralph, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks,
Pleasure.
Ralph.
Good times.
Glad you're here.
I-
Appreciate it.
The only
We
problem is me being here means Crystal isn't. But aside from that,
Yeah.
it's a good time.
Good times. Good times.
It's an uneven trade-off, but it's okay.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
And thanks for sticking with us, and thanks for all those comments. So catch us again here in 2 weeks for another great horror movie, the 1980s, as only decades of horror can do it. Say good night.
That everybody.
Sayonara, suckers.
Good night.